Albert Einstein, a name today that means genius. But what if I told you this so called genius couldn't even speak properly until the age of 4? What if I told you his teachers once called him slow, lazy, and destined for failure? And yet, this very child went on to win the Nobel Prize and change the world forever. This is the unbelievable, emotional, and inspiring story of Albert Einstein, the boy who struggled, the man who was doubted, but who proved that true genius is not about being perfect, it's about never giving up. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, Germany. He wasn't the kind of child anyone would have expected to become a world-changing scientist. In fact, by all outward signs, Albert seemed different. Unlike most children, Albert didn't start speaking full sentences until he was nearly 4 years old. His parents grew worried. His mother, Pauline, later admitted she feared something was wrong with him. When he finally did speak, he didn't do it like other children. He spoke slowly, carefully, repeating sentences to himself before saying them out loud. People nicknamed this delay the Einstein syndrome. In school, Albert didn't fit in either. Teachers complained that he was distracted, that he daydreamed too much. One teacher even told his parents,
"He will never amount to anything."
Imagine hearing that as a child, that you are destined for failure. But here's the truth. Albert wasn't failing because he was lazy or unintelligent. He was different because he saw the world differently. While other children memorized answers, Albert wanted to understand why. While others accepted facts, Albert wanted to question them. And in a society that wanted children to obey and confirm, this made him stand out, and not in a good way. One day, when Albert was just 5 years old, his father showed him a simple object that changed his life forever: a compass. Albert held it in his tiny hands and watched the needle move mysteriously, always pointing north, no matter how he turned it. To most children, it was just a toy. To Albert, it was a mystery of the universe. That small compass planted the seed of curiosity that would later blossom into groundbreaking theories about the unseen forces of the universe. But curiosity came with challenges. Albert struggled with a rigid memorization-heavy education system in Germany. He often clashed with teachers. In fact, one teacher even told him,
"Einstein, you will never succeed in life."
But instead of crushing him, those words fueled him. Deep inside, Albert knew something others didn't. He believed in his imagination. Later he would say one of his most famous lines, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, but imagination encircles the world." Still, Einstein's path was far from easy. He wasn't accepted into schools right away. He failed entrance exams. He was rejected by professors. For years, he even struggled to find a job. But those struggles didn't stop him. They prepared him. And soon, the world would witness the miracle of his persistence. After surviving a rough childhood and endless criticism from teachers, Albert faced his next challenge: higher education. At the age of 16, he applied to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. And guess what? He failed the entrance exam. That's right. The man who would later rewrite the laws of physics couldn't even pass a university exam the first time. His marks in physics and math were excellent, but he performed poorly in subjects like language, history, and other areas. Instead of giving up, Einstein tried again. This time he passed and was admitted. But even in university, Einstein struggled. He often skipped classes, preferring to study on his own. He felt that many professors were outdated in their thinking. too rigid to embrace new ideas. Some professors disliked him so much that they refused to recommend him for jobs after graduation. So, after finishing his degree in 1900, Einstein found himself unemployed. No university would hire him, no research positions were open. Imagine that. Albert Einstein, the future genius, rejected from job after job. Eventually, through a friend's help, Einstein got a modest job as a clerk at the Swiss patent office in Bern. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't what he had dreamed of, but it was stable. And more importantly, it gave him time to think. At the patent office, Einstein spent his days reviewing inventions. At night, he would return to his small apartment where he wrote, calculated, and imagined. It was here, during his quiet years, that Albert Einstein prepared himself for the greatest breakthroughs in modern science. And then came the year that would change everything. In 1905, while still working at the patent office, Einstein published not one, not two, but 4 revolutionary papers. Each paper challenged the foundation of physics. The first explained the photoelectric effect, showing that light could behave like particles, not just waves. This would later win him the Nobel Prize. The second introduced a new way to measure the size of atoms, proving their existence more convincingly than ever before. The third explained the strange motion of tiny particles floating in liquid, what we now call Brownian motion. And the fourth shook the entire world. It was the special theory of relativity. In simple terms, Einstein proved that space and time were not fixed. They were connected, flexible, bendable, relative. From this came the equation that today everyone knows, even if they don't fully understand it: E is equals to mc square. This tiny formula explained the relationship between energy and mass, showing that even a small amount of matter could be converted into a huge amount of energy. The world of science would never be the same again. Think about it. In the same year that most people struggle just to survive or pay bills, Einstein, a clerk in a patent office, single-handedly transformed physics forever. This is why 1905 is called his Annus Mirabilis, his miracle year. And yet, recognition didn't come immediately. At first, many scientists doubted him. His ideas were too bold, too strange, too different from everything people had believed for centuries. But slowly, one by one, the world began to realize Albert Einstein was not just another scientist, he was changing how humanity understood the universe itself. By the 1920s, Einstein's theories had spread across the world. In 1921, he received the Nobel Prize in Physics, not for relativity, which was still controversial at the time, but for his explanation of the photoelectric effect. Still, his name had become a symbol of genius. Wherever he went, crowds gathered. Newspapers published his quotes. Photographers chased him on the streets. But with fame came struggles. Einstein often felt misunderstood. People idealized him as a genius, but few understood the depth of his hard work, failures, and sacrifices. And yet, Einstein remained humble. He once said,
"It's not that I'm so smart. It's just that I stay with problems longer."
This one line captures the secret of his success: persistence. Behind the global recognition, Einstein's personal life was far from perfect. He faced failures in relationships. His marriage to Mileva Maric, a brilliant physicist herself, ended in divorce. He often struggled to balance his work with his family responsibilities. He lived through 2 world wars. He had to flee Nazi Germany because of his Jewish background, leaving behind his home, his friends, and his country. Even in America, where he spent the later years of his life, Einstein was not always at peace. He feared the misuse of science. especially when his equation E is equals to mc square became linked to the development of the atomic bomb. Although he did not directly work on it, Einstein felt the weight of knowing his discoveries had contributed to both progress and destruction. Einstein was more than a scientist. He was a philosopher of life. He believed in imagination, curiosity, and kindness. He once said,
Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value.
Another time he reminded the world,
In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity.
think about that. This is the same boy who couldn't speak until age 4. The same student whose teachers said he would never succeed it. The same graduate who couldn't get a job. If anyone understood difficulty, it was Einstein. And if anyone proved that inside those difficulties lie opportunities, it was also Einstein. In his later life, Einstein became an advocate for peace, education, and human rights. He supported civil rights in America, spoke against racism, and encouraged young people to think independently. Even as his health declined, he continued to write, lecture, and inspire. On April 18, 1955, Albert Einstein passed away at the age of 76. In his final moments, he refused special treatment, saying,
It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share. It is time to go. I will do it elegantly.
Even in death, he remained true to himself, humble, thoughtful, and graceful.